Hello there. I'm Matt Vanacora with Waves Factory, and we're checking out Boomwhackers. Boomwhackers is an awesome instrument library for Kontakt that will allow you to get a really fun handheld percussion sound, probably something that brings back a lot of memories from your youth. It's been really expertly sampled, and there's a lot of great little options that you can get in there to tweak the sound of these. So as you can see, I've got my collection of Boomwhackers right here. On the main page, I've got the ability to adjust how many players I'm using. If I click and drag, you'll see in the bottom left corner, I've got a nice little information display that lets me adjust from a single player to a group of 5. So you can really get a nice single solo player or a huge sound out of this instrument. Now that's the main window. If I go to the effects window, I click right here on this tab, and I've got the ability to load up a nice long serial chain of effects. So I can click in there, I can add a little reverb to my Boomwhackers. And of course, I've got my reverb controls right here. So it's really nice. I don't have to dig into necessarily deeply into the Kontakt instrument interface. I've got a quick ability to either turn the effects on or off and utilize them as needed. So really, really very convenient. And of course, just click on that to take it off again and get back to that main window to adjust the players. Now, on the right side here, I've got the settings. And the settings can be really fun because there's a lot of different options here to get these the most out of these instruments. So first of all, I've got the round robin repetitions. So you can see as I dial that down to 1, I'm using less samples. So what that's doing is it's going through and it's rotating through samples of the instrument. And right now with 1, I've only got 1 sample, but with 5, you'll hear 5 different slightly varied ways. It brings a human element to the hitting of the percussion. In particular, if you listen to the unpitched elements of it, the way that the instrument strikes, you can tell that there's more than 1 sample. And again, that just gives the human element so it doesn't sound so much like a synthesizer or something generated. Now, the dynamic range is below that. And that dynamic range knob allows you to go to just full volume no matter what you hit. And regardless of how hard I hit, I'm getting full volume. Now, if I give it some more dynamic range, I'll go to full amount. I can hit really softly, hit a little harder. But of course, at full volume, I've got to hit it pretty hard. You might have even heard the keys banging as I smashed them a little bit. So I'll just go back to right about there, right around 2, 3 o'clock. Now, related to that is my velocity curve. So the velocity curve allows you to control what is the minimum amount of velocity coming from your controller and the maximum amount. And depending on the controller, this can vary. So you might want to adjust the curve to favor the higher velocity samples or adjust it to favor the lower velocity samples. It all depends on your MIDI controller and the way that that MIDI controller responds. So if you feel like you're never getting to those high velocity samples, you can actually adjust the curve so it gets to them faster. Or if you never want to get those samples, if you don't want the strong percussive whack, you can actually restrict it from ever getting there, no matter how hard you hit. So that's kind of fun too. Now, this third column, the players, adjusting the randomness and the spread of the players, is best heard if we increase the amount of players. So now I got 5 different players playing those Boomwhackers. So even hitting 1 note, you'll hear gives you several people hitting the Boomwhackers. And I can decide that all 5 of those people are hitting at the exact same time by going into a 0% randomness. Now, yes, it tightens it up a bit, but it doesn't really sound like 5 people as much anymore. So if I click the randomness knob and drag it and set it to 100%, now I got some sloppy Boomwhacker players, so maybe a little too random. I'll pull it back a little bit and just go a little more than 12 o'clock. Now I got a nice sort of spread where you hear it's multiple people. Now, speaking of spread, I got the spread knob, and I can click and drag that and adjust that stereo spread and decide how far wide I want it to go. And you'll hear definitely that left and right stereo if you're wearing headphones or you got really good monitor speakers. Finally, I've got this offset knob here. That's the sample start offset. Now for those and the envelope, let's go to a single player so that we can really hear that individual sample. So the start offset is in milliseconds. How many milliseconds should the sample start playing? So you hear I'm losing that percussive entrance if I start the sample later. That's different from using the envelope where you can shape the attack. So with the envelope, I'm still getting that initial start. It's starting the sample in the same place. It's just taking longer to ratchet the volume up. And you can hear I can make a more softer attack like a pad synth. And of course, adjust the decay of that envelope if I want it shorter decay. So it's decaying faster than the original sample even length is finished. So I can decide to really let it decay or clip it off a little sooner. And adjusting that in conjunction with the ambient effects like reverb can really shape the sound and give you a lot of different colors to work with. Wow. So you can get a lot of different things out of this instrument that you might not have even thought of just by adjusting a couple of those things. So Boomwhackers is really fun. You've got a long, wide range of samples to work with. And you've got a lot of different options for how many players and how far apart you want to spread those players in the stereo field. So enjoy Boomwhackers from Waves Factory.